You're listening to the Turnaround Podcast, the true life basketball story of Bull City's own Stewart, Squirt, Holley.
Yo, man, this beat crazy.
Ended up being out another night, and this time I was coming from a bar and it was just thunderstorming real hard and flooding, and I didn't know it was going to rain that night the way it did. I don't know if it was a tornado or what, but it rained extremely long, extremely hard, so I sat in this particular bar where I was at one night, and this was after I got a DWI charge dismissed like a few months prior. So I'm sitting in this bar and all hell break loose with rain and hail. I sat in the bar and just got wasted. And the first chance that it slacked off, I was like, I'm going to make my way on home. So as I'm going home, the streets was flooded. And like I said, it rained extremely long for a long time. So the streets was flooded. I remember doing the speed limit. I remember doing my ritual before I even took off, which is basically like a freshening up before I actually drive away. So takes the highway, come off the highway, and gets into the town. And like I said, the streets were flooded. And it was crazy because I was actually in a rental car this particular night. And that made the situation just even worse pretty much. So, but I hit some water. You could see the water standing on the ground, in the streets, all over the place. So I hit some water, and I was doing speed limit. And in this particular zone where I was at the speed limit was, I remember it being 30, maybe 35, if that, maybe. But whatever the speed limit was, I was doing that maybe 2 or 3 miles under the speed limit. All right, so I've never been one of those type of dudes, just a speeder, a reckless driver, none of that. I'm very cautious as a driver. So anyway, I hit this water, and I remember the car just, as soon as those front tires hit that water, the car hydroplaned. And it just like happened in slow motion. And I guess it was those drinks. So the car actually did several 360. I'm just spinning. And it seemed so slow to me, like I saw it happening as it was happening. It seemed like I spun around in the car maybe 3 times before the car came to a rest due to a collision where I hit a street pole. And it was so bad that the airbag deployed, like it did some damage to the front of the car. And it's the first time I've ever had an airbag deploy on me. So when airbag deployed, it hit me with enough force to where it temporarily like knocked me dizzy. And it made me feel like I was drunk, honestly, after that. So I remember some people running up and out of concern. And like I said, it was just matters of seconds after the rain had slacked and stopped. People run up and I could hear the sirens, and in my mind I was just thinking like, shit. So once the police get on the scene, paramedics and everything like that, fire truck and all that, it looked worse than what it was, especially with first responders responding the way they did. And I don't remember those police officers' names, but the only people who was concerned about me seemed like the paramedics and the spectators. The police, on the other hand, was more like they looking, and it's their job to be professional, nosy people. So they wants to give me a sobriety test instead of what happened. And really, they didn't need to give me a sobriety test. I think they ended up, taking some blood. So they said I had alcohol in my system. So here I am with a second DWI in less than, that was probably maybe a 3 to 5 month time period. And so this time it was more of a fight. But I went with the same attorney, which he represented me as a juvenile, as a youth. So I always trusted him. So we went through that. And the significance of it, the first time I had got DWI was basically 10 years earlier. The very first one was like, as I was turning 30, then here I am catching one at the age of 40. And I'm thinking like, well, damn, I got that first DWI, I was turning 30, and I'm like, it was around the time of my 40th birthday. So they wanted to give me some probation and community service, and come along with that is the classes. And I think that's where I started to begin to express how I was feeling on the inside going to those classes that I had to take for the DWI. So I chose to, instead of doing community service, I said that I would rather spend that time in the jail, which was only 72 hours, which was 3 days. And being that we was getting near to my 40th birthday, my attorney said, well, I want you to turn 40 sitting in the county jail. So we set the date for me to turn myself in and do those 3 days after my birthday. And so this was 2016. So I got the first one in 2015, not the very first one, but The actual second one, the one that got dropped, I got that late 2015. I got 3 in total, but only been convicted of 2. So I was only convicted of the first one, then the third one. So the third one that I got was like around March maybe of 2016. So we going to court. My attorney didn't want me to spend my 40th in the county. So I was like, all right, cool. So I threw a big 40th birthday bash because I never had a birthday party for myself. So I threw a big 40th birthday bash and everybody came out, man. We had a good time. And so, but at this point in time, what I didn't know was one of my close cousins was being investigated by DEA agents. And I was also being followed by DEA agents. When I say follow, I mean like they had their eyes on me also. And they had their eyes on a few other people. So do the 40th birthday bash, do the 3 days in the county jail, get out. And this whole time, like I said, what I didn't know and what we didn't know, like, was about to change. So just got out, and I relaxed back with if I'm gonna have some drinks, I'm just gonna stay put. Whether I feel like I can operate a motor vehicle or not, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't condone drinking and driving. And I wasn't right at all about the situation because the fact is I was intoxicated. Could I operate those motor vehicles at that time I was intoxicated the way I was? Yes, because I was just super cautious because at the end of the day, I'm a black man. I know anytime I get behind the wheel of a car, I'm a target. And I know I've been drinking excessively. I seen plenty of nights I know I ain't had no business behind the wheel. But I did it anyway. Got to my destination, didn't, you know what I mean? And like I said, I was wrong for that. In retrospect, I was wrong for that, and I know that now. But like I said, this is just a warning to those who willing to listen and hear me out. It's a warning because at the same time, the Lord was watching over me and the Lord was protecting me. He was protecting me even from myself. And I thought about that sitting in the county jail for those 3 days. I gotta shake this shit. That's all I kept saying to myself when I was in the county jail. Like, I'm stronger than this. That's what I was telling myself while I sat in the county for those 3 days. And I was like, I'm this close. And I knew it. I had that feeling. But once I got out of those 3 days, I still just didn't figure out what is exactly that I need to do to get out of this. Some time go by, a few months go by, and I'm on probation. And I'm still on probation for this DWI. So this one particular day, I go see my probation officer. And I had been on probation probably about 7 months. So fast forward to when 2017, I'm on probation. I go see my probation officer. I did all these classes. I done did all of these requirements. And before I go see her, and I don't want to be too revealing as far as this goes because some of this stuff is legally still out there, not be in regards to me directly, but to some other people that's involved. So I want to be careful with what I say and how I say it. But my house had got broken into due to someone who was once like a nephew to me. And so some words had got around throughout the streets about what came up missing and things like that. And so I moved from one place to the next place. So remember I was saying that some DEA agents were investigating not just me, primarily one of my relatives. So they decided to make their move. So we had a little spot. It was like our man cave. This is where we would go to watch ball games, have drinks, that type of thing. So that house the whole time was being surveilled. And a few of us who was in and out the house was being surveilled by DEA agents. So they decide that they are going to run up in that particular house. And that's because they had what they call a CI, confidential informant, thought he knew more than what he did. And the way he put it to the authorities, this was our trap house, which it wasn't a trap house. It was the Ponderosa, but it wasn't a trap house. So they run up in my cousin's house, DEA agents, and they run up in the Ponderosa March 1st, 7 o'clock in the morning, hit both houses at the same time. Thursday morning, Wednesday morning, they hit both houses at the same time. My cousin got taken into custody, and a few days after that, my probation officer, she calls me. And she asked me, could I come? I was scheduled to see her on March 9th. And I always remember that date because it's the same date that Biggie was murdered. So she called me, asked me if I could come in a day earlier, which was the 8th. That had raised flags because I'd been on probation like 6 months, 8 months. She's never called me to move a date either up. You know what I'm saying? She's never moved a date. If the date she set, that's the date she set, that's the date I come in. So that rose flags because when both those places got ran up in by DEA agents, I had gotten word that several of us had honestly gotten word that we was being targeted and that they was looking for us. How true it was, I was about to find out, but I know I had reached out to my mom, and no authority figure had been to her place. She said she didn't see anything, looked irregular. Okay, because my address was anonymous. So I had to go see that probation officer. I explained to my mom what went down, what's going on. And I told her, I said, I have a feeling if I go see this probation officer, it's going to be a surprise for me. But if I don't go see her, then it's like I'm running. And then if she's unaware, then I'm raising flags with her because I've never missed an appointment. So I decided I'm going to go to the appointment. I ain't finna run. So I go see this probation officer this particular day, March 8th. Gets there, she played everything normal. And it's funny because every time I went to go see her, you sit out there, anybody's ever been on probation, they know you go see a probation officer for an appointment, you sit in there probably 30 minutes before they call you back to go see him or her. So this particular day, like I told her, I said, I get VIP treatment today, huh? As soon as I got there, they called my name back to her or whatever. Okay, so you got Stewart, Holley here to see you. And, okay. It wasn't even 5 minutes later. She buzzing the door open. Come on, Mr. Holley. And I sarcastically, I said to her, I get VIP treatment today, huh? Go in there. They've never done this before. Go in there and they got our handheld metal detectors and pat me down, put the metal detector on me. So in my mind, I was like, wow. So I'm being sarcastic again. I said, y'all changed up a few things today, huh? Nobody says anything. All right, so gets in her office. We sit, have basic conversation like we always do. So she writes down a new appointment. Yeah, this your new appointment. Oh, give me a second. So then she gets up from behind her desk, walks out of the office. As soon as she walks out of her office, 3 detectives walk into her office. And they call me by my slave name or my government name, so to speak. Same thing. So I said, yeah, that's me. So they didn't say I was under arrest, but they said that I needed to come with them. And so as they proceed to put me in handcuffs, am I under arrest? They're like, you're not under arrest. We just need you to answer some questions. So I'm like, why are you putting handcuffs on me if I'm not under arrest? So when you arrest people, that's when you put them in handcuffs and restrain them, what they call it, whatever the case. So my mom, this particular day, she went with me down to the probation office. So they let her know that they was going to take me to somewhere else. And that's where it all began. So they get me to a police station, basically, or the police department rather. So they get me in, this is around March 2017, and like I said, they questioned me about some relatives of mine. So I just looked at them out of disconcern. And so once they figured out that I wasn't going to talk or be cooperative, it takes me over to the county jail, and they put me under a $2.5 million bond and charged me with all kind of trafficking cocaine charges. They must have charged me with about 13 counts. They claimed that they had video footage of me making transactions, exchanging cocaine for dollars. They claimed they had audio to go along with the visual. I smirked, didn't flinch, because if it's true, then I tell you what, if you're gonna take me and all of those type of things, then I'm gonna go with some type of dignity. I don't know what you're talking about. You have to do your job playing with me, because if I'm gonna go, then I'm gonna go, and I ain't telling on no motherfucking body. They put me in the county jail, $2.5 million bond, charged me with trafficking cocaine charges. So as I'm sitting in the county jail, I'm receiving all kind of information that I'm snitching. Really? Who courtroom have you seen me in testifying against someone? Whose paperwork have you seen my name on as a witness, right? So that's how people spread rumors and talk about things they have no idea about, no facts about. So I retained a really good attorney. He's the same attorney that he also represented Michael Vick when Michael Vick was going through the dogfighting situation. So Michael Vick had a 3-lawyer panel. This particular attorney that I retained, he was one of the 3. He wasn't the lead attorney, but he was one of the 3. Durham native, and he specializes with dealing with federal authorities. And so after retaining him, a couple of months go by, I'm still sitting in the county jail. He comes to me and he tells me, come by my office today around 3:30. I'm looking at him like, huh? So he slides me the paperwork where they dismissed and dropped the charges. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so I was a fish in a barrel pretty much. I was easy to apprehend out of everybody that was looking at, you know what I'm saying, that was at the Ponderosa. Everyone that they was looking at, I was a fish in a barrel because I was the only one on paperwork. and I was on paperwork because of this DWI. So when I go see this probation officer, she hands me over to them, basically. So in this particular cousin of mine, he had to plea out. And like I said, I'm not going to speak on his situation. He know the truth. Our family know the truth. Our closest friends know the truth. You know what I'm saying? So we all good. And he good. You know what I'm saying? And me and him, we talk every chance we can get because he's actually pulling some fed time. So he'll be home real soon. And I ain't finna put his information out there. So coming out of that situation, I started dating a young lady. She stood by me. I met her towards the end of like 2016. So we was good friends. And so then me and her, that situation was good for a while it lasted. And they always say people come into your life either for a reason or a season. And I guess she was just in my life for that reason and that season. Because those couple of months that I stayed in the county jail, she was there. And it helped out a whole lot on all levels. But once I had gotten out, we tried to make things work. And eventually me and her go our separate way. And that was actually a blessing for me. One of my closest friends had told me when I had gotten out, because it didn't look good. I'm in the county jail under $2.5 million bond, charged with all of those trafficking cocaine charges. So it didn't look good to people who was on the outside looking in. So family members, friends, they all thought that, oh, we ain't gonna never see Squirt again. Damn, my brother gone. Damn, my cousin done. You know what I mean? And I didn't know people had felt like that till I had gotten out and people reached out to me and, yo, I had a surprise party, can you come? And I get there and then they let me know. And someone that my brother was dating at that time, when she had first saw me, that's the first thing she said, like, your brother cried on my shoulders every night. And I was like, wow. And I sat back like, wow. Like, that shit made my brother feel like that. We got the same mama. My brother was feeling some kind of way. So once I learned that from my friends and my family members, I was like, wow. And that's what actually made me sit down and like get a grip of myself. It changed the relationship with me and my mom also, because I think she, in her mind also, was probably thinking, I'm about to lose my son to the prison system again. And the Lord showed favor, not just with me, but with my cousin and all other parties who was involved. Yeah, my cousin got to do a little piece of time, but he still showed favor considering the circumstance. So that's when I started to say to myself, okay, I got to do things totally different. And one of my boys, he said, man, Squirt, man, I love you, man. You just need to reinvent yourself. My boy, Terry Mayo, he told me that in a conversation. And that was God through him working. And that still echoes through my mind right now, today, reinvent yourself.
This has been a Vanguard Podcast Network original. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Turnaround Podcast and follow the Turnaround Podcast on Instagram by clicking the link in the show notes. If you'd like to book Stewart Holley for a speaking engagement or to be a guest on your show, please reach out to theturnaround77@gmail.com and someone will get back to you within 48 hours. Thank you for listening.